Hello, everyone. I want to share an experience that happened to me a few weeks ago on a warm night. I decided to go for a walk in the forest to my favorite clearing. It's a beautiful spot, located on a hill with an amazing view over a field and into the distance. I've watched a few sunsets there, and it has always been one of my go-to places. There's also a campfire there, which seems to be used occasionally by others. I left my apartment around 2200 hours and headed toward the forest. The night was pitch black, but I chose not to use a light. I wasn't sure why. Maybe I just didn't want to attract attention and preferred to enjoy the quiet warmth of the evening. As I walked, I passed an old farm next to the road leading to the clearing. The road itself connects to another town nearby. I had passed that farm many times before, and I had never seen any animals, people, or cars around it. It always seemed abandoned to me, but that night was different. As I walked past it, an unmistakable farm animal smell hit me, something I had never experienced there before. It was that typical earthy, musky scent you get when animals are around. Instinctively, I looked around, hoping to spot something in the darkness. But just as always, the place was completely empty. No animals, no signs of life, nothing except the strong smell lingering in the air. I found it strange, but I shook it off and continued walking. Soon, I reached the clearing and sat next to the campfire, ready to stargaze. That was my whole purpose for coming. I wanted to lie under the sky and take in the stars. When I inspected the campfire, I noticed that beneath the ash, some embers were still glowing. There was also firewood stacked nearby, left by whoever had been there before. I decided to rekindle the fire, using the leftover wood, and soon I was lying on the ground next to it, watching the stars. For about 2 hours, until midnight, I enjoyed the peaceful night. But eventually, I ran out of firewood. I didn't feel like venturing into the woods for more, so I let the fire die out and allowed myself to drift into the quiet darkness. Then, suddenly I heard footsteps. They were coming toward me from the gravel road, loud and distinct in the silent night. The fire had burned out completely, and the moon was dim, leaving everything in near total darkness. I couldn't see them, and they couldn't see me. But as I lay there on the ground, hidden by the darkness, I listened closely and tracked their movement by sound alone. As the footsteps passed me, I got up and started following them. It wasn't strange to me at the time. I was heading home, and they just happened to be going in the same direction toward my town. If anything, I felt a strange sense of advantage. They didn't know I was there, but I knew about them. Their footsteps remained steady, crunching over the gravel, and I could hear my own footfalls joining theirs. Then, without warning, their footsteps vanished. Just gone. I stopped, confused. I didn't really think much of it at first, and continued down the road, passing the farm again. But something nagged at me, so I paused, turned around, and waited, expecting to see someone emerge from the darkness behind me. Maybe I had somehow passed them without noticing. In the near total blackness of the forest, it was possible. But no one came. I stood there for a while, staring into the darkness, waiting for movement, a sound, anything. But there was nothing. No footsteps, no rustling in the trees, no sign of anyone. And that's what unsettled me the most. If it had been a person walking ahead of me, they wouldn't have known I was there. That means if they suddenly heard another set of footsteps behind them, it would have startled them. And if they had jumped off the road into the forest to hide or escape, there should have been some noise, branches snapping, leaves rustling, something. But there was nothing. I didn't think about it too deeply until a few days later, when I replayed the whole scenario in my mind. The more I thought about it, the stranger it felt. I worked the night shift, driving a taxi in a small town. Most nights are boring, just drunk students or tired workers heading home. But last Friday was different. It was close to 2:45 a.m. when I got a call from dispatch. A pickup request from the old highway outside town. Weird. That road had been closed for years after a landslide. Still, money's money. When I got there, the fog was so thick I could barely see a meter ahead. My headlights caught a figure standing by the roadside, a woman in a dark dress, soaking wet, staring blankly at me. I rolled down the window and asked, "Need a ride?" She nodded once. She didn't say where she was going, just sat silently in the back seat, dripping water onto the floor mats. Her face was hidden by her long hair. I started driving, but the GPS wouldn't load. No signal, no clear destination. The woman simply pointed forward whenever I hesitated. After what felt like hours, we passed the town's edge and headed toward the forest. Finally, my nerves broke. I glanced into the rearview mirror to speak to her and froze. There was no reflection, only the wet imprint of where she sat, slowly soaking deeper into the fabric. I turned around. The back seat was empty. The air smelled like earth and something rotten. Panicking, I slammed the brakes. The car skidded to a stop. Out in the trees, I saw her, standing there, head tilted unnaturally to one side, water pooling around her bare feet. She pointed again. At me. I floored the gas and didn't stop until I reached town. The next morning, the dispatcher called, furious. Said I had ignored 2 more pickup requests from the same location. But when I checked my ride history, there were no requests logged after 2:45 a.m. There was just a note under my profile. Last passenger, undelivered. I haven't driven at night since. But sometimes when I'm parked, my back seat still feels damp. And in my rearview mirror, in the corner of my eye, I swear I see her sometimes. Still waiting. These experiences started a few months ago with my parents. My mom loves to buy trinkets or antique stuff from thrift stores. She will usually bring home something or the other each week. A few months ago, she bought this small jeweler box. It was cute white with floral prints. It was empty, so she started to stash her jewelry in there. The first red flag was my cat Nando. He couldn't stand the box. He usually slept near Mom's vanity. But the day he saw the box, he was so scared, hair raised and everything. He bolted from my parents' room, and he has not gone back since. The second red flag, after I had touched the box, I started having vivid dreams. 2 of them which actually happened in reality, but that is a story for another time. It left me shit scared. The third red flag, my mom was suffering from regular sleep paralysis after she bought the box. But last week when she lay for a nap, she felt someone hug her from behind and choke her, and when she looked behind, she didn't see any shadow or a dark mass with shape. She saw an old woman with white eyes choking her. She told me it left her when I entered the room asking for something. While walking home, my mom fell and broke her arm. We asked her what had happened. She told us that someone had pushed her from behind, but there was no one behind her. My dad, though, he has started seeing an old woman in the balcony adjoining their room. Sometimes he hears footsteps, and sometimes he can feel someone touch his shoulder or someone walk past him. And the best part of all is that now that box that started all is lost in our own home. We planned on throwing it, but we couldn't get it. We are searching for it, but till now we haven't even gotten a sniff of it. Please guys, could you give me some advice, cause this is freaking me out.